Hello, my name is Michelle O'Quinn, and this is my presentation on moving debt out of your way. For today's agenda, we're going to go over debt and the types of debt, a negative credit report, what exactly is a credit report, negotiation, and dispute. So my name is Michelle O'Quinn. I'm the job developer here at Scare. My job here is I help participants obtain employment. We start off with an ONAT, which is a interest questionnaire that helps you discover a career path that is catered to your interest. We do a career exploration after completing an ONAT, and that means that we go over the employment opportunities that are within your interest, and we figure out what schooling is needed, how much time you um, need to prepare for that job. Is it feasible for your lifestyle right now? Um, and then we go into time management and preparation. So it's childcare, learning how to do time management at home. How much time do you really have to give to this employment? So after you drop off your kids at work and drop off your kids at school, you could be dropping off your kids at work, but after you drop off your kids at school or your husband at work, how much time do you have to dedicate to employment? I also do job preparation. We go over a master application. I prepare you for your interview. And then also I provide a mock interview. And then here at Scare, we can even do a panel interview. Up at top, it says life as a single mom. So at one point in my little life, I was a single mom of 7. So getting rid of debt, living in debt, money management, trying to get on the right track. I know how to pinch a penny. I know how to make my money stretch. I know how to make food stretch. So I was a single mom of 7. I worked full time. I went to school. I got my degree. While working, while taking care of my kids, of course, I had to do most of my work online because there was no way that I could sit in a classroom setting. My mom lives on the East Coast. My dad, at the time, he was in the VA hospital. He had Guillain-Barré, and so basically his nervous system shut down. So I had no support from anyone, and that's why I had to go to school online. I basically did school as soon as the kids went to sleep, so having them go to bed at 8 o'clock was very, very important to me, so that I wasn't staying up so late trying to complete my schoolwork when I had to get up and go to work the next day for 8 hours. And then, you have to prepare your meals. So I know all about cotton meals, fast meals, getting all my babies situated. And so here I am at Scare, and I'm ready to share everything that I've learned from being a single mom of 7 with little to no support with you guys. Because if I can do it, anybody can do it. So we have types of debt. You have unsecured debt, secured debt, revolving debt, and installment debt. So unsecured debt is debt that's not tied to any assets. And if you fall behind in payment, the lender doesn't take your asset away. A secured debt is tied to an asset that's considered collateral, and the lender has the right to seize or to put a lien on your asset. So that would be like your car or your house. A revolving debt is debt that does not have a fixed amount every month. So it's kind of like your credit card payment. So every month your spending might be different. So your monthly payment on that credit card will be different. Another revolving debt is like an electric bill. That one, it fluctuates. So any bill or any debt that fluctuates. Installment debt is you borrow a set amount of money and you pay back a set amount of money each month. So it might be student loan, any kind of loan, where you borrow a certain set of money and then you have to pay back, each month, that installment to pay your debt. Your credit report versus your credit score. So your credit report includes your previous and current credit history and activity. The lender might look at your credit report to get details and understanding of your credit history. Your credit report will have like where you lived for most of your credit history, where you worked throughout your credit history. So the creditors or your lender is able to see in one glance, like how many jobs you've had, how how well you maintain and keep a consistent workflow. They can see in a glance like how well are you at paying the debt. Your credit score uses your credit report to develop a score that's representative to your credit worthiness. And a higher credit score indicates to the lender that you're credit responsible. So if you're in the 300 to 599, your credit score is considered very bad. If you're in the 600s to 649, 650, you have poor credit, and only secured loans are given for people in this range. And then if you have a credit score of 650 to 699, that means you have fair credit. And then 700 to 749, you'll be eligible for most loans with a good rate. And so like something can happen, like an emergency where you had to use all of your credit on your credit cards, and then all of a sudden your credit takes a dip. So you'll see that like opportunity, like when you have good credit, you have like all these opportunities open to you. Everybody wants to give you credit. And then all of a sudden something bad happens and then you're in the poor rate. And then like everyone treats you like a peasant. It's funny, but not funny. So your credit score does matter. We'll look into like the different interest rates you will receive just based off of your credit score. And the sad part is that like when someone has a very bad or poor credit score, their interest rates are higher, which means that they're usually paying monies that they can't afford. You would think that, oh, well, you have poor credit, but you need help. They don't think that way. They don't think about you needing help or that the credit is there to help you. They feel that if they give you a good interest rate, that you're going to take advantage and that you probably won't pay them back. Hence the reason why they hit you with a high interest rate. So at least they're getting some of their money just in case you decide to abandon whatever deal it is that you're trying to get. When you have very good credit, that's like 750 to 799, expect the lowest possible interest rate and the best term. And 800 to 850, that's excellent, excellent credit score. So what are they looking at? What are they looking at to put together your credit score? So they're looking at your payment history. And this is important because people have this idea that, oh, well, if I pay it off early, then my credit score will go up. And that's not the case. In many cases, especially with your car or something else, if you try to pay it off early, then you'll be penalized. So, for example, with my car, I tried to pay it off like 4 months early, and I was going to have to pay $3,000 more just for paying it off early. So I just put the monies aside and paid it off a month early, and then there were no penalties for paying it off a month early. So they want to see a payment history. They want to know that you can be consistent in paying your bill for a long period of time. They want to know that you have the stamina to pay, for a certain period of time. So that's where that payment history is. Also, they look at the amount of debt that you owe. So it's your income versus your outcome. So like your income versus what's going out and what you owe. So creditors look at that as well to see if you can even afford the loan that you're trying to jump into. Your length of credit history. So they'll look at your credit history and see when did you start to build credit. I have run into a lot of adults who have no credit history whatsoever. So you might see on television that there may be commercials where it's like, oh, get this card and you can start building credit, or join Experian or something I watched the other day where it's like you can build credit by paying your rent, which I think is fair because they look at your rent, and they look at your credit history to decide whether or not they want to rent to you. But you should be able to use your rental history as credit, I think. But who am I? So they look at the length of your credit history. Another thing is new credit, and then the types of credit that you have. Like, is it Rent-A-Center credit? Like, what kind of credit do you have? So the three bureaus for your credit is Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So they look at the creditors that you have. This is what's on your credit report. So the creditors that you have, the applications for credit that you put in. So if you apply for a Target card, a Home Depot card, any kind of credit card, they do a inquiry on your credit. So every time you apply for a card, whether you get it or not, that inquiry is on your credit report. So like, let's say that you are you're in line at Old Navy and someone asks you, oh, do you want to apply for a card? And you decide to apply for a card from Old Navy, and like, let's say that you don't get it for whatever reason, that inquiry is still on your credit report, and it stays there. I believe for like 7 years, or 5 to 7 years, these inquiries stay on your credit report. Also too, like when you apply for a loan for a car, that is a hard inquiry. And so just applying for a loan for your car, whether you get it or not, because it's a hard inquiry, it will drop your credit score significantly. Like a light inquiry, like for like a Gap card or an Old Navy card, that's a soft inquiry. So you might get hit a little bit on your credit score, but like an application for a house or a car, that's a hard inquiry, and it's gonna hit your credit score. And then the crazy part is that you're trying to apply for a loan for a car, and then they hit your credit with like this hard inquiry, which drops your credit score. So then when you go to inquire about something else and it's like, oh, well, your credit is this. And it's just like, well, it's your guys' fault because you keep checking my credit. Like, leave it alone. Um, Also on your credit report, it has debt collectors. Um, so you may not know or be aware that when you don't pay your AT&T or you don't pay your cable bill, or if you don't pay your electric bill, that they will put it in collection. So once your debt gets put into collection, then it shows up on your credit report and that it's in collections. And those are negative marks that are on your credit report. Once it's in collections, it's every month that your debt is in collections, it is taking a negative hit on your credit report. So your credit report will constantly go down every month that you keep those debts in collection. So that's the important part about getting your credit report and looking at it and see what debts are in collection, because you might have a debt that might be $50 and that $50 debt is bringing your credit score down every month that you keep that $50 debt there just because you don't want to pay it or you don't know that it's there. So getting your credit report and looking at your credit score is very important. And at this time, because of COVID, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion are allowing you to get a credit report for free every month. It used to be that you could only get one every year, but since COVID and all of the fraud that's been going on, they're allowing you to get your credit report every month so you can check it out and make sure that no one is trying to obtain credit under your name. So on your credit report, you'll have personal identifying information. So it'll be your name, your address, your social security number, your date of birth, and previous employers. So your work history will be on your credit report. Places where you lived, all your houses, everywhere that you lived, every apartment, from the time that you were 18 are all on your credit report. Your credit history, your bill paying with lenders, banks, mortgages, mortgage companies, retail stores, and finance companies. Also banks that you may have left in not good standing. So like, let's say that you left a bank because you had overdraft fees and now those overdraft fees are like over $150. And so like, instead of paying the overdraft fees, you just left the bank. Well, that bank will be on your credit history and on your credit report. And owing money to a bank on your credit history is really bad. And so a lot of times you won't be able to get a loan or any credit with anyone until whatever issue you have with the bank is squared away. Even with financial aid for school. So, or if you're trying to get a student loan, you know, you have to square away those issues that you have with the bank before you can move forward. Another thing is public records, so bankruptcies, foreclosures, foreclosure judgments, and liens. So I think bankruptcies stay on your credit report for like 13 years. It wipes everything away, but again, it wipes everything away. So not having any credit is not good. Yeah, so again, bankruptcies don't look they do not look well when a lender is looking at your credit report. And then inquiries. So we've talked about this. So a list of creditors or other authorized to receive a copy of your credit report in the last 2 years. So again, having those inquiries on your credit report can hurt you, even if you don't get the card, you know. So a lot of when you're standing in line and somebody asks you, do you want to get a credit card with 7-Eleven? I mean, like, is it really worth it? No, not really. I'm like, what's my credit score right now? No, I don't think so. I'll pass. Common hard inquiries is credit card applications, auto loan applications, student loan applications. And then depending on what the school is, I've heard that like some schools, they try to run your credit inquiry with so many different loans. It's ridiculous. And I've had friends and associates who their credit score was horrible, and it was just based on the school or the person in the financial aid office, like trying to get them all these student loans to pay for their expensive school. Mortgage applications are they run a hard inquiry in apartment rentals and applications. And in San Diego, you know, like trying to get an apartment in San Diego is so hard and so competitive. And now they're looking at your credit score as part of the application process in order to consider you for an apartment. But at the same time, like all these apartments are running hard inquiries on your credit, driving your credit score down. So yeah, I would be very like selective as to which apartments run my credit, because like running around trying to, you know, get an apartment and allowing them to run your credit score left and right, that in itself can bring your credit score down as well. The whole point is just be very, very selective, like choose wisely. Bad credit or no credit versus good credit. So here we're looking at an auto loan. So it's a $20,000 auto loan, and the auto loan's term is for 5 years. So with bad credit, your interest rate is at 26%. With good credit, the same auto loan is at the interest rate is at 6%. So the monthly payment with the 26% interest rate is $599, and then the monthly payment with the 6% interest rate is $387. So that's a difference of $212 just based on that. And this is real life. So I bought a car, and it was, I don't recommend anybody do this, but I bought a car, it was brand new, meaning like my kids took the plastic wrap off the seat belts, brand new. And so my coworker at my other job, she bought a car brand new as well. Her credit score was not that great, and my credit score was pretty good. I paid off my car, I would say 2 years ago, and she's still paying on her car. And we bought our car a month apart. Her monthly payments were way more than mine. I would say like almost double what my car payment was. And it was all because like we had different credit scores. And it was because her credit score was so low. So the total interest with bad or no good credit is $15,929. And then with good credit, the interest was $3,199. So that's a difference of $12,730. So not having a lot of money is one thing, but having a bad credit score, that's something that you can work on, and that's something that you can control, and try to help yourself get out of, you know, a situation. So dispute collections and debt collectors. I've done it. I've disputed collections and debt collectors that were on my credit report. And I was able to remove $13,000 in debt from my credit report. So ways to remove negative credit report entries is submit a report to the credit bureau, send a pay for delete offer to the creditor, dispute the business that reported to the credit bureau. So that's how I was able to remove $13,000 from my credit report, because after when you owe money to a company, let's say that it's Old Navy, and then they sell your debt to another creditor, that creditor will try to take money. Will try to bring your credit score down by reporting you to the bureau that you owe money to them. But you didn't have a contract with that new creditor. You only had a contract with Old Navy. So when I would submit a dispute to the credit bureau, I would say, I do not have a contract with this company. And so I was able to, they had to acknowledge that they don't have a contract with me. I didn't agree to pay them anything, and so they would have to take that off of my credit report. And so for the most part, that's how I was able to remove $13,000 from off of my credit report and raise my credit score. Also, you can call, if you can't remove it, a lot of times you can call them, call the creditor. Some companies, like if you owe money to like AT&T or something like that, they will not remove it. So you can possibly call them and get them to accept a different amount of money. So I think with one of my creditors, I had owed like over $500, but I was able to just pay $100, and then they took it off my credit report, and then that debt was closed. It says make a goodwill request for deletion. It doesn't always happen. Rarely does it happen. I think I've had that happen one time where I had asked the credit company to remove the collection from my credit report, and that I would sign basically like a new deal with them, that I would pay XYZ amount of money until the debt was paid. Out of all the creditors that I've had, I've only had one creditor actually agree to that. And then it says wait out the credit reporting time, which is usually about 7 years. After 7 years, it just falls off your credit report. But it says that it's closed, but there's a good closed and there's a bad closed. So it's like, did it close because you paid it, or did it close because it timed out? So just to review, we went over debt and the types of debt, negative credit reports, and how to negotiate and dispute negative marks on your credit report. Thank you for allowing me to share the information that I know about removing negative credit on your report. If you have any questions, you can contact me at the SCARE office. My name is Michelle O'Quinn. The number here at SCARE is 619-328-0676. Again, that's 619-328-0676. And my name is Michelle O'Quinn.